Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your, hello again, this is our second meeting today, so good to be with you. In your prepared statement, you made reference to working with Secretary Pompeo on the release of an American citizen recently as one of the most memorable experiences in your service. Is that right? Can you tell us who that is and what the circumstances were?
The Coleman family, Coleman Boyle family. She, an American citizen married to a Canadian, and they had several children, and were held hostage in Afghanistan-Pakistan border area for several years. And we were able to discover their location and persuade the Pakistani authorities to act swiftly to gain their release from these terrorist groups. And I worked very closely with Secretary Tillerson and CIA Director Pompeo at the time.
I'm sure that's rewarding work, because that happens a lot more than we really know it happens in this country, obviously, for secure reasons. I shared with you earlier when we met that I had a Pakistani foreign exchange student live with me for a year in my senior year in high school, which, as you can tell from looking at me, is a long time ago. But I learned a lot living with a Muslim student from Pakistan for a year about the Muslim faith, about that part of the world and everything else. In the years since then, something happened that involved Pakistan. I took a keen interest mainly because I knew Ashfaq Azad, and he and I have remained friends all these years. He's now the Caterpillar dealer in Dubai. My question is that Pakistan is a strange bedfellow. I guess that's the right word. They have been an invaluable help to the United States in a strategic location in a very dangerous part of the world. But they've also frustrated me, and I'll speak only for myself, particularly in the bin Laden affair, where he was there for, we don't know how many years, but a number of years after 9/11, before we finally found him. And I wondered how cooperative the Pakistanis were throughout that whole era as to why he was there, yet we never knew it, and we didn't get him until 10 years later. Is their level of cooperation better today than it was, say, 5 years ago when he was still there?
I would say it's mixed. I won't draw the comparison because I wasn't in Pakistan 5 years ago. I was involved in the Middle East, but it's a mixed record. There are areas where we are able to cooperate very effectively together. There are many terrorist groups that they perceive as their enemy and we perceive as our enemy, and we're going after them, including ISIS. We have very strong programs to help build the resilience of Pakistan. We don't want Pakistan to be in any way destabilized. The problem is that we're not completely in agreement on a key issue, which is the presence of the Haqqani network inside Pakistan, which is able to freely conduct operations across the Afghan border. That's the essence of our sharpest difference right now. We continue to work on it. We wish to do so in a way in which we're able to gain the cooperation because Pakistan has a lot to offer in resolving the disputes in Afghanistan, including in helping us get the Taliban and the Afghan government sitting together talking about peace.
I think maintaining a relationship with Pakistan is absolutely essential to your department, to the Secretary of State, to our entire country. But it is a very strange partner sometimes in a very dangerous part of the world, vis-a-vis the largest democracy in the world being India right next door, but who are equally important to us as a country. You said in your prepared remarks about learning so much from and admiring so much Madeleine Albright. And you talked about her strength and her belief in a strong military and diplomacy as a partners in the way she ran the Secretary of State's office. I agree with that. She was a very adept Secretary of State. What of her practices do you plan to follow, and any of the things you learned from her are you going to use in your service?
Well, that was one key element. I also think the integration of our economic strategies overseas with our traditional political national security diplomacy is very important, an area that I hope that we can work on together. I also think Secretary Albright was very gifted at persuading foreign leaders and counterparts to join us in multilateral strategies to deal with the challenges that we face. That was something I admired greatly, the way she did it. She was firm. She went about it in a very firm, direct, frank way, and she gained allies by persuading countries that the right cause was to work with us.
You know, the situation in New Mexico, I saw an issue I saw a report on the television this morning about the investigation of the blind sheikh in New York, who was ultimately convicted of terrorism against the United States. But one of the things he had promoted in his teachings in his mosque in America was for the radical Islam to go and colonize in the United States and create things exactly like what we have found was existed in Mexico, where they were raising children, teaching them terror, and trying to spread Islam through that twisted view of their religion. Do you see, in your experience, and you've been in some areas affected greatly by Islamic terrorism in Islamic countries, do you see a growth of that anywhere else, or have you seen a growth of that anywhere else in the world?
I think one of the elements that we face today that we didn't face before is that this can happen almost anywhere. In so many different places, we've seen the exploitation of young people through this kind of ideology. It's not the Middle East anymore, right? It's happening in the Western Hemisphere, it's happening in Europe. So again, we need all of our allies, all of those societies that are vulnerable to this, to be sharing ideas together on how to combat this and reduce its threat to us.
Well, I wish you good luck, and I'm sure we're going to benefit from your experience and knowledge, particularly in that part of the world. Thank you for your service to the country.
Thank you.